This is Power BI and More with Business Solutions MVPs Scott Sewell and Joel Lindstrom. This episode is sponsored by KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integrations affordable and painlessly easy. Check out their autumn 2017 release at kingswaysoft.com, featuring multi-threaded writing, support for Dynamics 365 version 9, integration with Eloqua and Oracle Marketing Cloud, and ETL documentation generator.
Not that I'm worried about the... Okay.
All right, Scott. Well, welcome to our pre-Thanksgiving episode, Thanksgiving US.
Absolutely.
What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for Power BI, man. What else am I going to say?
Have you figured out a way to tie Power BI into cooking your Thanksgiving turkey?
I haven't, but give me an afternoon, and I'll figure out some way to overload those tasks. But yeah, it's been fun. I just got back from a Power BI a class on DAX last week with Marco Russo, and really useful, and learned a lot in the class. Also learned how much more there is to know that I don't know yet, so that's always good.
Well, good. All right, so you were talking about DrillThrough this week. Yeah,
so I learned a couple new tricks this week. So, and I'll just use my Titanic example as the for the Titanic dashboard is my example, and then you can sort of cross apply that to other types of usage. But the idea of drill through is I'm on a report, and there are lots of things on it. Maybe there's lists of types of customers, or lists of vendor or types of vendors, and I want to see way more detail about that specific record. Whereas on the report that I'm on, I've got a lot of things generalized and sort of aggregated, but I want to get a lot of details about that specific record, and I want to drill through to another report that is designed as just a single record report. So in my case, I've got in my Titanic thing, I've got my passenger types, and I've got lists, and the list shows how many people were in this passenger type category, or what's their survival rate. But if I right click on it and choose drill through, it will take me to a report that's filtered to just a single passenger type, and it's got all the details about metrics around that passenger type, including a map about where they came from and other details around it. But this idea of drill through really lets your report become, maybe in a way, a navigation element. You can open the report, click on it, say drill through, and then get a lot more details than what you want to stuff into the main report. And I was surprised at how easy it is to do in the current version of Power BI. Really, the first thing you want to think about is what you want to drill through to. In my case, I looked at the things I had, and there was this category, and I wanted a lot more detail around. I wanted to expand and show the details around this one category. So I created a second report that was designed to be filtered to a single record. Like my original report kind of gives me aggregates across a lot of categories. But the second report is designed with the idea that I'm looking at a single category at a time on this report. And so when I created it, I just called it, in my case, I just call it passenger types. But there's in the filters list on the right side, there's an area like page filter has been there for a while. Report level filter has been there for a while, but there's a new area called drill through filters. And in that drill through filter, you just want to paste in the ID, or the label associated with the single category you want to filter on. Drop that into the drill through filter area, and then of course go ahead and you can set it to a single category or a single record, and then build your report around that so that all the report reflects just the details about that specific category. That's really all you have to do, because then when you go back to your original report, if you're looking at anything that lists those categories or lists that particular attribute, all you have to do is right click on it, and you get a drill through menu below it that shows hyperlinked passenger types, which is the name of the report that I created. Again, it's just a really efficient way of saying, I don't want to cram every detail about every category onto my main report. I want to be able to choose one of those and explore it in a report that's focused on everything about that one category. And then based on whichever category I happen to be looking at on the main page, I just right click and jump over to that report. Really useful, and it's actually incredibly easy to do. But I'd say
is this equivalent to using in SSRS terms, using a subreport and drilling through to the subreport?
Yeah, that's probably a good comparison. I guess in my thinking, sometimes I have subreports which are just which are like embedded in the main report, like little subcategories. But like you described it, where I click on that and I jump over to a report that's specifically about that. Like if I have a list of accounts and I click on one of those accounts and it takes me to another report that's focused on a single account. That would be sort of the equivalent there.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I've heard the term drill down and drill through used synonymously, but I found that Microsoft actually has a definition of drill down versus drill through.
Okay.
And that is if you're clicking and revealing some data that's hidden within the same report, that's a drill down. Whereas if you're clicking and going to another report, then you're showing a drill through.
Okay. Yeah, that works. So like in my case, I've got some hierarchical groups where it has a major category and then a subcategory, and then metrics that kind of roll up under each of those. And I can collapse it so I'm only showing the category, and then right click on it and say drill down or expand, and it will show me all the subcategories. That would be sort of the drill down effect. But when I right click on one of those subcategories and it takes me over to a new report, that's a drill through. So
have you have any best practice about how many levels you should drill through in one set of reports?
Right. So think about a drill through is it's taking the single record that you're on, and it's grabbing the context of that record, or excuse me, it's grabbing whatever value you're pointing to inside of the report, and it's going to pass that as a variable into the next report. So theoretically, you could have them jumping all around, but I'd say keep it fairly simple to start with, maybe 1 or 2 levels. It is worth pointing out that it's only taking the single record that I'm on and passing that label as a variable to the next report. It doesn't give me I don't have the ability to say, okay, I want to filter the first report by age and by gender, and then right click and choose and click on the category and have it take all of that context into the next report. It doesn't do that. It just takes the label that I'm on to the next report without all the surrounding, all the other filters that I happen to be applied to the page. So it's worth kind of keeping that in mind, that's what's going on.
So what about when you drill through, how does the user get back to the original level? Is the back button the way you do that, or are there easier ways to give people? Because I'm always worried if you drill through, especially if you drill through more than one level, you need to have a way to get back home.
Yeah, great question. In any case, if I'm on the main report and I drill through to a sub report underneath it, when I add a drill through filter to the report designer originally, it will drop a back button onto the page, which is just a hyperlink back to. It'll drop it as a kind of a back arrow up in the upper left-hand corner, and you can format it however you want to. But it automatically does that, and it will create a hyperlink back to the original report. If you don't want to, if you lose that, or if you want to do something different, you can always just once you're on the main report on the drill through report, you can click on the primary report and the tabs down at the bottom of the screen.
Right. So I guess another question that came up that's relevant to, say you're using your dashboard or your Power BI report as a navigational tool to get to a single record. But say those records are maybe quotes and you want to have an export that can be generated like a quote document. Is SSRS still the better fit for that? Or have you ever seen Power BI try and be made into a paginated, formatted type output?
Right. I've seen it. People try to do that, but not successfully. The terminology that Microsoft uses is they think of it as paginated reports are really designed for SSRS, and they also call them pixel perfect reports. Things like forms.
There's a lot of them that aren't very pixel perfect, but
yeah. So, those tend to be better handled by SSRS, but more interactive summarization, aggregation, that handles better in Power BI. I think they both have.
If I wanted to have a Power BI that then linked to an SSRS report, you could do that. You could pass parameters to URL.
Absolutely.
And combine have worlds collide.
Yeah, for certain, because like for instance in my example, I have added a hyperlink, and if you go back to one of the earlier tips that we added, I think it was what was it, 7? I forget the exact tip, but we added it. We talked about how to hyperlink from. Let's see, actually, I've got it up on my screen here. So that would be tip 782 on tip of the day, is how to add a hyperlink from Power BI to another. I showed how to add it to a page in CRM, but you could always point to a SSRS report and pass the GUID of the record you're on to that SSRS report as a filter.
Okay.
So there's a couple options there.
Yeah, that's cool. So one thing that I saw on the Power BI blog for news since our last episode is single sign-on support when connecting to on-premises data sources. So what that got me thinking is, someone with CRM on premises and the CRM SQL database, this potentially makes it easier for on-premises CRM customers to leverage Power BI for reporting and analytics.
Yeah, I think I haven't, and honestly, Joel, I haven't tried that yet, but anything to reduce the chance that you're having to be prompted again to log in will certainly smooth out the path for users. But
it's supported data sources as of today are SQL Server, Teradata, and SAP HANA.
Okay.
So opening up to SAP customers, that's quite a large group of businesses as well. So that'd be a good thing.
Yeah. So I know that we have cases where as you click through and open up the record in Power BI, if the data source, I guess it just depends on where the data source is, but yeah, it's kind of like it needs to know that you have permissions to see the data in that data source. And so that single sign-on will be interesting. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't run into that particular need specifically, but definitely is going to come up.
Right. So realistically, if you could use Kerberos and support single sign-on to CRM on premises, you could effectively build things off of the filtered views inside of the Dynamics database as well.
It's very, very possible. At that point, yeah, because of that way you would have. Now, at that point, you are still. Yeah, I'd have to think about that, because that's interesting, because if you did it as a live connection, you would be passing the value all the way through. That's not going to be the fastest way to do it, but it certainly, if passing security context is important to you, I have to try that out.
Right. But I mean, it's one thing that removes one potential barrier with the security context of being able to reflect that, but you're right, the performance might suffer.
Yeah. So Power BI is really the focus area should be on aggregated data and summarizing data from a larger perspective rather than the sort of transactional operational data that we deal with inside of CRM. It really should be saying, let's roll this up and let's get bigger trends, bigger picture view of it. If I just want the data that's sitting in CRM in my view, there's actually easier ways to get that. But getting the bigger trending data, bigger aggregations, that's where Power BI just brings an amazing amount of power to the picture.
Right, but devil's advocate though, if you're using that approach for the overall aggregate data, but then you want to drill through and see specifics, and there's things on that are security conscious, that could potentially be a way to bridge that.
Yeah, so that's possible. The other way might be that if you just have if in CRM you have in Power BI you're displaying the fact that ABC company has an opportunity on this date, you can show that in Power BI with a hyperlink to the record, and in Power BI the individual could see that high level sort of tombstone data, but not have permissions to drill through and actually go to the record in CRM. So there's a couple of different ways to do that.
Nice. The other thing that jumped out from the November update is the rules-based conditional formatting for tables and matrices. Your dream of having conditional purple fields is coming true.
Well, as long as I can get the field labels into Comic Sans, that's what I would want.
Yeah, I remember. I always thought when the CRM Outlook client supported conditional formatting that sneaking into somebody's computer and making something 72-point purple Comic Sans would be awesome.
You're a cruel man. So that's there already were some conditional formatting. You could have basically set a field, like for instance data bars. You can have data bars, for instance, in some cases I have percentages, and I'll show the data bar growing and shrinking based on the percentage that attribute reflects. They've just added so much more flexibility to it in the November update. So it's really cool.
They're protecting you with the ability to lock objects on your report too, so you don't accidentally nudge things out of place.
That actually, I know that sounds simple, but that's really useful, because when you're interacting on a report, sometimes it's easy to kind of hit one of the graphs or charts and slide it slightly out of alignment with the others. And being as uptight as I am, that just drives me crazy. So this way I can keep all my lines, everything, keep them all separated, nice and even, and keep everything organized neatly. So,
well, cool.
Good time.
Lots of good stuff happening.
It is. It's. I think probably December will be a little bit quiet. There's probably a lot more going on right now than there will be in the next release or two because of holiday schedules. But tons to learn, tons to take advantage of. And if you haven't downloaded and installed the November release, go ahead and do that. Also, take a look at go to the Windows Store. I don't know if we've talked about this, but they've added it to the Windows Store, and you can go there and install it from the Windows Store. By the way, be aware there are two apps in there in the Windows Store. One is the tablet app, which is kind of a very summarized version of it, and the other is the full desktop app. You can install it from the Windows Store and in Windows 10, and it will keep itself updated. And it works really nicely.
So if you're on Windows 8 or 8.1 still, you have to download the desktop version?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So does the Windows Store version have everything that the desktop install does now?
Exactly the same.
So when I search there, I see Power BI and Microsoft Power BI and Microsoft and Power BI Desktop.
Yeah, you want the desktop version.
And also Power BI News.
Yeah, I don't want that. Who knows what that is? But yeah, the Power BI Desktop, that will get you it's the full desktop experience, and to keep it updated. In fact, there was for a brief moment they released a version that had a regression bug in it, and once there's several people popped up and said, hey, there's a bug, the regression, they updated the Windows Store app almost immediately, and the changes flowed out to everybody who was on that. So it does keep it updated without you having to fool with it. So it works out really nicely.
This has been the Power BI and More podcast with business solution MVPs Scott Sewell and Joel Lindstrom. This podcast is a production of Dynamic Podcasts, LLC. Follow Scott Sewell on Twitter at Scott Sewell. Subscribe to the CRM Audio Network of podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or any place else that fine podcasts are available. You can email us at voice@crm.audio. Thanks again to our sponsors, Kingsway Soft and Alexa CRM.